What's going on, guys? Soldier Only here from Sports Nerd Web. Welcome to this episode of Destiny Unplugged. It's Thursday, so that means there is a new This Week at Bungie update. I actually just barely pulled it up and went over it, and it's kind of an interesting one. I'm not really sure quite exactly how I feel about it just yet, so we will get right into it here. This week at Bungie, we have updates on the Brain. A post-dawning hotfix landed on Tuesday. The shipping manifest included fixes for issues we detected while snow was falling on the tower. We straightened out some patrols in the Plaguelands, a few elements of the in-game economy, and a number of Crucible maps that were welcoming undue exploration. Patch notes are live if you missed them. If your console has been dormant since Tuesday, fire it up and welcome the download into your life. Moments after Destiny hotfix 2.5.0.1 became a thing, we flipped the switch to return Iron Banner to the Crucible. It's not really that simple, but you get the idea. If you listen carefully, you can hear Guardians locked in a shooting match for prestige and loot. The contest of skill and light lasts until the weekly reset, which is Tuesday. Now we come back to the eternal question that defines the Destiny player experience. What's next? So glad you asked. First things first, Crimson Days will not be making a return this year. We enjoyed adding some gunfire to your date night, but we have other plans. Instead, we are dedicating our efforts to delivering different things for you to play. Last week at Bungie, we teased that you have not heard the last from the live team. Their next content update is taking shape. We are super excited to tell you about it, but not so excited that we'll jump the gun. There will come a time when we'll take a seat on our streaming set to talk about how we'll spend the springtime together. That moment will come closer to the thaw. It's rarely our policy to issue guarantees about things that are not yet certified for download. Given the work that is being done behind the scenes, however, we feel like we can start to call the shot. Then balancing act. If all goes according to plan, the next update to Destiny will include some design work to refine weapon balance. The exact release date is to be determined. The full notes on fixes and changes are to be revealed. With every content update, there seems to be one category of firearms that becomes the favorite option for winning a match against a fellow Guardian. Balance is like Utopia. It is unknown. That doesn't mean we won't seek it. Upon the launch of the Dawning, our Sandbox team said this on the Bungie.net forum. This was from the Sandbox team. As we wage wars in our playtest labs, we're taking a lot of things into account. Player data, your feedback, and our own gameplay experiences. We've heard the conversation about and felt for ourselves shotgun dominance. Yes, we see you, Matador 64. But we feel strongly that our goal shouldn't be to nerf them into the ground. Instead, we're looking at solutions that could bring shotguns into a better state of balance with the rest of the guns in the game. In doing this, we would still want shotguns to be effective and fun to wield. We could quickly and easily break shotguns and call it a day, but it is important to us that we explore positive changes that can make Destiny better for everyone. Ever since the Sandbox team said that, I always agreed with them. I'm glad that they weren't just going to nerf shotguns and call it a day like they've done in the past. Pretty much Bungie keeping up with pretty much the way it has always been. You know, Bungie's learning from their mistakes. You know, ever since Vanilla Destiny, Bungie has always learned. Bungie's really, really good at listening to the community and making changes, from there. So, I remember when the Sandbox team said this. Yeah, like I said, it was really good to hear, that they were actually taking their time on a weapon balance instead of just, nerfing the DPS on the shotguns or whatnot. Me personally, I don't think shotguns really need. I don't think their damage needs to be nerfed. It's just their range. It's their range that's making them a little ludicrous, right? And of course, I pretty much agree with most of the community. There definitely needs to be a primary weapon buff for sure. And then the one thing that really jumps out in this TWAB obviously is where they say, and this was from Deej. This TWAB this week at Bungie was from Deej. But yeah, it looks like Crimson Days will not be an event this year. First things first, Crimson Days will not be making a return this year. We enjoyed adding some gunfire to your date night, but we have other plans. Instead, we are dedicating our efforts to delivering different things for you to play. So this is what's interesting. It seems like that, so it looks like that we're not going to have Crimson Days as we knew it last year. And then, where was it? Then right here, this is another thing that's really interesting in this, is where he says, last week at Bungie, we teased that you haven't heard the last from the live team. Their next content update is taking shape. We're super excited to tell you about it, but not so excited that we'll jump the gun. There will come a time when we'll take a seat on our streaming set to talk about how we'll spend the springtime together. So so from what it sounds like to me is that obviously we're not going to be getting Crimson Days, but then it seems like that they're focusing their efforts on possibly what it's probably going to be is a bigger April update. Hopefully similar to the one that we saw last year, but maybe possibly even bigger. As we know, the April update last year did introduce a lot of weapon balances and changes and things like that, even to prisoner of elders and things like that. So I'm really intrigued to see what it is exactly that they're going to be doing. Me personally, I was kind of hoping that there was going to be Crimson Days and then possibly an April update. So but if it means that the April update or the spring update is going to be bigger and better, then I'm all for it. Then that's definitely fine. One thing that they could be doing possibly, there's been a lot of word in the community for quite some time now that they want some of the old raids brought back, and maybe that's what they're doing. So, and I like how they said, this is another thing that you kind of have to pay attention to, is how they said there will come a time when we will take a seat on our streaming set to talk about how we'll spend the springtime together. Whenever Bungie has streamed their announcements or their playthroughs or their ride-alongs or anything like that, every time they've done it, it was when they were showing off a pretty good size content update. So if you go by the past and kind of just the history of it, that could mean that this spring update could be a pretty good size one. So, but it looks like that we're gonna have to wait and see. And he said, but that moment will come closer to the thaw. So it seems like that we are gonna have to remain patient, for probably a few more weeks. Like I said, me personally, I was kind of hoping that we were gonna be hearing something sooner and then getting Crimson Days. But as I said, from looking at it here, it looks like that there will not be Crimson Days, but it could mean a bigger and better update in the spring. So it's kind of a catch-22. It's kind of a bummer. It's kind of a letdown. That we're not going to be getting Crimson Days, but it also is kind of good news as well to know that there is going to be what seems like a good-sized spring update. So we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm going to start doing these Destiny Unplugs. I'm actually going to start airing them every Thursday to coincide with every This Week at Bungie. So every episode of Destiny Unplugged will cover that week's TWAB and whatever other news is going on in the Destiny community. So hit that thumbs up if you like the video. Sub to the channel for more content, and we will see you in the next one. Cheers, Guardians.